The vast blackness of space stretched endlessly as the Imperial survey ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel near a yellow star. The ship's sensors quickly mapped the solar system, detecting 8 planets orbiting the Sun. The crew barely paid attention to the third planet, covered mostly in blue oceans with green and brown landmasses. Admiral Hansol stood on the bridge of his ship, his tall frame wrapped in the dark uniform of the Imperial Scout Fleet. He looked down at Earth through the viewscreen with bored eyes. After 10,000 years of expanding across the galaxy, the Empire had seen countless worlds like this one, primitive, underdeveloped, and hardly worth their time. Another backwater world, he muttered, watching the planet rotate slowly below. His crew continued their standard survey, recording basic readings about Earth's atmosphere, population centers, and technology level. The readings showed radio waves, basic spacecraft, and early digital technology, nothing that would interest the mighty Empire. The ship's AI compiled the data and presented Hansol with a preliminary report. He skimmed through it quickly, already thinking about the next system they needed to survey. The Empire had given them a long list of potential worlds to examine, and this one clearly wouldn't require much attention. Back on Earth, in a hidden facility deep beneath the rebuilt streets of Seoul, something very different was happening. Dr. Lee Jin-A stood in her laboratory, her dark hair pulled back in a neat bun as she studied the readings on her holographic display. Behind her, a small device pulsed with an otherworldly blue light, defying everything the scientific community thought they knew about quantum mechanics. "Run the test again," she ordered her assistant, her eyes never leaving the display. The numbers couldn't be right. They suggested her team had achieved something the Empire had declared impossible centuries ago. But as the test repeated and the same results appeared, a small smile crept across her face. The laboratory was part of Project Phoenix, Earth's secret response to the discovery that humanity wasn't alone in the universe. While most of the world's governments publicly focused on traditional space technology, a select group of scientists worked in facilities like this one, pursuing research that went far beyond conventional physics. Jin-A had first proposed her theories 5 years ago, when analysis of strange energy readings from space suggested the existence of technology humans had never imagined. Most of her colleagues had called her ideas impossible, but she had persisted. Now, watching the quantum device pulse steadily, she knew she had proven them wrong. "Dr. Lee," called one of her team members, "the Empire's survey ship is leaving the system." Jin-A walked to another screen showing the alien vessel accelerating away from Earth. The ship's energy signature flared briefly before it vanished into faster-than-light travel, leaving Earth behind like so many other primitive worlds. In his report to Imperial Command, Admiral Hansol wrote his brief assessment. "System contains 8 planets. Third one harbors primitive civilization. No significant technological advancement. Recommendation: ignore until they achieve FTL capability." The report was filed away in the Empire's vast databases, where it would gather virtual dust along with millions of similar surveys. But Hansol and the Empire had made a crucial mistake. In their arrogance, they had assumed that all civilizations would develop along the same technological path they had followed. They never considered that being ignored might be an advantage, that a civilization might discover things the Empire had missed, might think in ways the Empire never had. Jin-A returned to her quantum device, making careful adjustments. The blue light pulsed faster, and new readings appeared on her displays. She picked up her tablet and began writing. Project Phoenix Test 247. Quantum state successfully maintained for 30 minutes. Energy output exceeds theoretical limits by 300%. Possible applications: propulsion, weapons, shields. In the weeks that followed, Jin-A's team made rapid progress. Without the Empire's oversight or interference, they were free to explore ideas that the galaxy's ruling power had dismissed centuries ago. Their quantum technology developed in ways that broke all of the Empire's established rules about physics and energy manipulation. The Empire's survey ship continued its mission, visiting other worlds and filing similar reports about other primitive civilizations. Admiral Hansel never gave Earth a second thought. Why should he? The Empire had seen thousands of worlds at this stage of development. They always followed the same pattern, taking centuries to achieve the technological level needed for galactic civilization. But in her underground laboratory, Jin-A was about to prove that pattern wrong. As she worked late into the night, the quantum device's blue light grew stronger, illuminating her determined face. On her main display, a design began to take shape. The blueprint for humanity's first true warship, incorporating technologies the Empire believed impossible. "They think we're primitive," she said softly to herself, watching the quantum field pulse with impossible energy. "They think we'll develop just like they did, following the same slow path to the stars." She smiled as she saved her latest test results. But they don't understand human nature. They don't understand how quickly we can advance when we're motivated. And most importantly, they don't understand that sometimes being ignored is the greatest advantage of all. Above the laboratory, the citizens of Seoul went about their lives, unaware of the breakthrough happening beneath their feet. And high above Earth, satellites quietly monitored the space where the Imperial survey ship had disappeared, gathering data that would help humanity prepare for the day when the Empire would return, and discovered just how wrong they had been to ignore Earth. Inside the massive underground facility, the air hummed with energy as scientists and engineers moved with purpose around the prototype ship. The vessel dominated the huge chamber, its dark hull seeming to drink in the light from the overhead lamps. After 15 years of secretive development, humanity's answer to the Empire was finally taking shape. Dr. Lee Jin-A stood at her control station, her eyes fixed on the readings from the ship's quantum core. The ethereal blue-white light pulsed steadily, each wave of energy perfectly matching their calculations. Behind her, Major Kim Ta-won watched with barely contained excitement. His military bearing couldn't quite hide the look of wonder on his face. "The test readings are stable," Jin-A announced, her voice carrying across the control room. The team of scientists and engineers paused in their work, turning to watch the core's pulsing light. Power output is holding at 400% above Imperial theoretical limits. Taiwan stepped closer to the display, studying the numbers. "Will it be enough?" he asked quietly. Like everyone else in the facility, he knew what was at stake. The Empire would return eventually, and Earth needed to be ready. Jin-A nodded confidently. "The quantum core isn't just stable, it's exceeding our best projections. The Empire thinks this kind of energy manipulation is impossible. They gave up researching it centuries ago." The massive ship, designated Phoenix 1, stretched nearly a kilometer in length. Its hull incorporated revolutionary metamaterials developed by Dr. Park Min-ho, allowing it to bend both light and energy around itself. The effect made the ship nearly invisible to conventional sensors, and even to the naked eye when fully activated. Min-ho stood near the ship's bow, running his hand along the smooth, dark surface. "The metamaterial lattice is responding perfectly," he called out. "Active camouflage is at 99.8% efficiency." The hull seemed to ripple under his touch, the metal shifting like liquid shadow. The weapon systems were equally revolutionary. Instead of the standard energy weapons used by the Empire, Phoenix 1 carried quantum disruptors designed by Jin-A's team. These weapons operated on principles the Empire had never encountered, targeting the fundamental forces that held matter together. "Begin power distribution test," Jin-A ordered. The core's pulsing increased in speed, channels of energy flowing through the ship's systems. On dozens of displays around the chamber, readings remained steady and strong. The technology they had developed worked perfectly together, each system enhancing the others. Taiwan moved to a tactical display, watching as simulated combat data scrolled across the screen. "The Empire's ships rely on shield technology that hasn't changed in 1,000 years," he said. "They've never needed to improve it because no one has ever threatened them. But our weapons," He smiled as the simulation showed a quantum disruptor beam passing straight through an Imperial shield, as if it wasn't there. The development of Phoenix One had been a truly global effort, even though most of Earth's population remained unaware of the project. Scientists and engineers from every nation had contributed, working in secret to prepare humanity's defense. The ship represented the best of human ingenuity and determination. "Prepare for full power test," Jin A announced. The chamber's lights dimmed as power was diverted to the ship's systems. The quantum core's pulsing grew stronger, filling the space with its otherworldly glow. Engineers moved to their stations, monitoring every aspect of the test. As the power levels rose, Minho's metamaterial hull began to activate fully. The massive ship seemed to fade from view, becoming a shadow of a shadow. Even the core's light bent around the hull, making the vessel nearly impossible to detect. Only the monitoring equipment confirmed it was still there. "All systems nominal," reported one of the engineers. "Hull integrity at 100%. Quantum field stable and expanding. Weapons systems online and calibrated. She's ready, Dr. Lee." Jin A allowed herself a small smile. 15 years of work, of secret development, and countless setbacks had led to this moment. They had achieved what the Empire thought impossible, developing technologies that broke all the rules the galaxy's rulers took for granted. Taiwan stepped close to Jin A, speaking softly. "When I was assigned to this project, I thought we were wasting our time. I thought we should focus on copying the Empire's technology instead of trying to develop our own. I'm glad you proved me wrong." "The Empire's greatest weakness is their certainty," Jin A replied. "They're so convinced they know everything that they've stopped looking for new possibilities. That's why they ignored us, and that's why they won't be ready for what we've created." The test continued late into the night, as the team put Phoenix One through increasingly complex trials. Each success confirmed what they had hoped. Humanity had developed something unique in the galaxy, a ship that could stand against the Empire's mighty fleets. As the test concluded, Jin A made her final notes. The prototype had exceeded all expectations. Now they could begin production of additional vessels, preparing Earth's defense fleet. The Empire would return eventually, expecting to find a primitive world ready for conquest. Instead, they would find humanity waiting for them, armed with technologies they had never imagined possible. Looking up at the barely visible shape of Phoenix One, Jin A thought about the Empire's dismissive survey from 15 years ago. Their arrogance in ignoring Earth had given humanity the time and freedom to develop into something they could never have expected. When they finally returned, their mistake would become clear, and the galaxy would never be the same. Commander Choi Sung-min stood on Phoenix One's bridge, his hands clasped behind his back as he watched the Imperial survey ship emerge from faster-than-light travel. The alien vessel was massive by Earth's old standards, but looked almost small compared to the Phoenix One. 50 years had passed since the Empire's last visit, and much had changed. "They're beginning their scan," reported Lieutenant Park Ne-Ray from her sensor station. "Their technology hasn't changed at all. It's the exact same scanning pattern they used last time." Sung-min nodded, a slight smile touching his lips. The Empire's predictability was one of humanity's greatest advantages. While Earth had spent 50 years developing revolutionary technologies, the Empire had remained exactly the same, convinced of their own superiority. "They're detecting our orbital platforms," Ne-Ray continued. The defense grid around Earth had been carefully designed to look primitive to Imperial sensors, hiding its true capabilities behind simple-seeming structures. "They think they're just basic weapon platforms." The Imperial ship moved closer, its sensors probing Earth's defenses. Then the expected transmission came, broadcast on all frequencies in the Empire's typical arrogant manner. "Primitive world, submit to Imperial authority or face extinction." The bridge crew remained calm, well-trained for this moment. They had rehearsed this scenario countless times over the years, preparing for the Empire's return. Sung-min stepped forward, his voice clear and steady as he responded with a single word: No. There was a pause as the Imperial ship processed this unexpected reply. They had likely anticipated fear, submission, or perhaps desperate pleas. A simple refusal probably wasn't in their response protocols. Detecting power surge in their weapon systems, Narration reported. They're launching attack drones, standard Imperial pacification protocol for resistant primitive worlds. The drones emerged from the Imperial ship, sleek deadly machines that had conquered countless worlds. They accelerated toward Earth, their weapons charging. The Empire expected them to easily overwhelm any defenses a primitive world might possess. "Defense grid standing by," announced Captain Kim Min-jae from the tactical station. The orbital platforms that looked so simple to Imperial sensors were actually housing some of humanity's most advanced quantum technology. Sung Min watched calmly as the drones approached. "Let them get a little closer," he ordered. "Let's make sure their sensors record everything." The Empire's arrogance had given Earth 50 years to prepare. Now it was time to show them the results. The drones crossed the designated threshold, and Sung Min gave a slight nod. "Defense grid, engage." The primitive orbital platforms activated, quantum fields shimming into existence. The drones flew straight into these fields, and in less than a second, they simply ceased to exist. Their matter was disrupted at the quantum level, reduced to scattered atoms that dissipated into space. On the Imperial ship's bridge, there must have been confusion and disbelief. Their sensors would be telling them something that, according to their understanding of physics, was impossible. The drones hadn't been destroyed by conventional weapons. They had simply been unmade. "They're scanning again," Narration reported, a note of satisfaction in her voice. "Their energy readings are spiking. I think they're starting to realize something's wrong." The Imperial ship transmitted again, this time with less arrogance in its tone. "Unidentified energy signatures detected. Explain your level of technological advancement immediately." Sung Min stepped forward again. "Perhaps you should have paid more attention during your last visit," he replied. "Humanity has been busy while you ignored us." The Phoenix One began to power up its systems, the quantum core humming to life. The metamaterial hull activated, making the massive ship ripple like a heat mirage in space. To the Imperial vessel's sensors, it would appear as if a ghost ship was materializing before them. "They're charging their main weapons," Min-jae reported. "Standard Imperial heavy energy cannons. Exactly what we expected." Sung Min nodded. "Let them fire. It's time they learned what their arrogance has cost them." The Imperial ship launched a barrage of energy beams, enough firepower to level a city. The beams struck Phoenix One's quantum fields and simply vanished, absorbed and redirected by technology the Empire had deemed impossible. "No damage," Min-jae confirmed. "Our fields are holding perfectly. They might as well be throwing rocks at us." The Imperial ship's next transmission contained something that had probably never been heard in an Imperial communication before. "Fear. What are you?" "This is impossible." Sung Min allowed himself a small smile. "We are humanity," he replied. "And you made a very serious mistake when you ignored us. The galaxy is about to change, and the Empire's time of unchallenged dominance is over." As if to emphasize his words, the defense grid activated again. Quantum fields expanded around the Imperial ship, not to destroy it, but to hold it in place. Its engines flared as it tried to escape, but the fields prevented any movement. "Shall we show them what else we've developed while they weren't paying attention?" Sung Min asked his crew. Around the bridge, people nodded, ready to demonstrate just how much humanity had advanced. The Empire was about to learn that their greatest mistake hadn't been underestimating Earth's current technology. It had been giving humanity the time and freedom to develop something entirely new. Their arrogance had created their worst nightmare, a civilization that had advanced along paths they had never imagined possible. The moon's dark side concealed humanity's greatest achievement, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal itself. In the command center beneath the lunar surface, Captain Song Jae-yun strode onto Phoenix One's bridge. her crew already at their stations. Through the main viewport, Earth hung like a blue jewel against the black of space, while the trapped Imperial survey ship floated helplessly in the defense grid's quantum fields. "All systems ready, Captain," reported Lieutenant Yang Du-jin from the engineering station. The quantum core's steady pulse echoed through the massive ship, its power waiting to be unleashed. The hull's metamaterial matrix is at full capacity. Jia-yun settled into her command chair, her fingers dancing across the control panels. "Time to show the Empire what they've been ignoring," she said, entering the activation codes. "Begin launch sequence." The lunar surface above them split open, massive doors pulling apart to reveal the star-filled sky. Phoenix One's quantum drive hummed to life, the sound building from a whisper to a deep resonant tone that seemed to vibrate through reality itself. The ship rose smoothly from its hiding place, its dark hull beginning to absorb the surrounding light. "They're detecting us," announced the sensor officer. "Their scans are going crazy. Their computers can't make sense of our quantum signatures." The Phoenix One emerged fully from its lunar berth, its kilometer-long form casting a shadow across the moon's surface. The ship's hull, composed of advanced metamaterials, didn't reflect light like normal matter. Instead, it absorbed all electromagnetic radiation that touched it, making the vessel appear like a ship-shaped hole in space. The Imperial vessel's scanners must have been overwhelming their operators with impossible readings. The technology they were detecting shouldn't have existed according to their understanding of physics. Their next transmission came quickly, filled with disbelief. Impossible. Their technology level was assessed just decades ago. They still think technology only develops along their prescribed paths, Jia-yun said, shaking her head. They never considered we might think differently. She watched as her tactical display showed Phoenix One's weapons coming online, quantum disruptors charging with power that defied Imperial science. The ship's targeting systems locked onto the Imperial vessel automatically. The enemy ship's shields, though considered formidable by Imperial standards, might as well have been tissue paper against the quantum weaponry humanity had developed. Jia-yun's finger hovered over the firing control. "Final power readings are stable," Du-jin reported. "Quantum core is performing perfectly. All weapons systems show ready." The Imperial ship tried desperately to break free from the defense grid's hold, its engines flaring bright against the darkness. Their weapons fired again, energy beams that would have devastated a planet's surface splashing harmlessly against Phoenix One's quantum fields. "Should we give them a chance to surrender?" asked one of the bridge officers. Jia-yun considered for a moment, then shook her head. "The Empire doesn't believe in mercy. They only understand power. It's time they learn there are consequences for their arrogance." She pressed the firing control. A beam of pure quantum disruption lanced out from Phoenix One's main weapon array. Unlike conventional energy weapons, this beam didn't explode or burn. Instead, it simply erased everything it touched, severing the bonds that held matter together at its most fundamental level. The Imperial ship didn't explode. There was no dramatic fireball, no debris field. One moment it existed, and the next it simply didn't. Only a cloud of scattered atoms remained, quickly dispersing in the vacuum of space. "Target destroyed," reported the tactical officer, almost unnecessarily. "No survivors, no recoverable debris." Jia-yun nodded, watching the sensor readings. The demonstration had been perfect, quick, clean, and absolute. When the Empire received the automated distress signal from their lost ship, they would find nothing to explain what had happened. Just sensor readings that their scientists would claim were impossible. "Send the signal," she ordered. Across Earth, hidden shipyards began powering up, revealing more Phoenix-class vessels. Humanity had spent 50 years preparing for this moment, building not just one ship, but an entire fleet. The Empire thought they could ignore us, Jia-yun said to her crew as they watched more ships rising from their hidden berths. They thought we would develop slowly, following the same path every other civilization had taken. Instead, we took our own path. We developed technologies they had dismissed as impossible. And now they're about to learn that their mistake will cost them everything. The Phoenix One moved into formation with its sister ships, their dark hulls creating a constellation of void-black shapes against the stars. Humanity's fleet was ready. The Empire would undoubtedly send more ships to investigate what had happened to their survey vessel. When they did, they would find not a primitive civilization ready for conquest, but an advanced species prepared for war. Jai-Yun looked at the tactical display showing Earth's complete defensive network, quantum weapon platforms, metamaterial cloaked ships, and technologies the Empire had never dreamed of, all waiting to be revealed. The Empire's greatest mistake hadn't been underestimating Earth's current technology. It had been giving humanity the time and freedom to surpass them entirely. High Admiral Kang Do-hyun stood on the bridge of his Imperial flagship, watching as his pacification fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Earth's solar system. 500 warships, each powerful enough to destroy a planet, emerged into normal space. The fleet represented enough firepower to subdue a dozen rebellious worlds. Do-hyun had left Earth centuries ago, when the Empire first discovered humanity. He had seen potential in joining the galaxy's rulers, even as they dismissed his homeworld as primitive. The Empire's life extension technology had kept him alive to see countless worlds fall to Imperial might. Now, he had returned to show his former people the price of defiance. "Full scan of this system," he ordered, his voice carrying the aristocratic accent of the Imperial court. "Find out what happened to our survey ship." The scans showed Earth changed from his memories. Orbital platforms circled the planet, and the moon bore signs of extensive development. But to Imperial sensors, the technology still appeared primitive. Exactly what they expected from a world at this stage of development. "My lord," reported his sensor officer, "we're detecting unusual energy readings. They don't match any known patterns in our database." Do-hyun frowned. The Empire's databases contained information gathered over 10,000 years. There shouldn't be anything they couldn't identify. "Show me," he commanded. Before the readings could be displayed, a new ship appeared near Earth. It seemed to materialize from nowhere, its dark hull absorbing light in a way that defied physics. Do-hyun's eyes widened as he recognized the vessel that had destroyed his survey ship. "Impossible," he whispered. "According to all Imperial knowledge, Earth shouldn't have been capable of building such a ship for at least another 1,000 years. Yet there it was, moving with a grace that made his mighty warships look clumsy in comparison. "Unknown vessel, identify yourself," his communications officer broadcast. The response came immediately, in perfect Imperial standard. "This is Phoenix One of Earth's Defense Force. You are not welcome in this system. Leave immediately or be destroyed." Laughter erupted on the bridge. The idea that a single ship would threaten an Imperial pacification fleet seemed absurd. Do-hyun didn't laugh. Something about the ship's confidence worried him. "Deploy attack formation," he ordered. "Show them the might of the Empire." His ships moved into their standard battle pattern, a formation that had conquered countless worlds. Energy weapons powered up, shields hummed to life, and fighters launched from their base. It was a display of power meant to cow any resistance. Phoenix One moved. The ship's acceleration was beyond anything Do-hyun had ever seen. It crossed the space between the fleets in seconds, its hull rippling like dark water. Before his gunners could lock on, it was among his ships. "Fire! All ships, open fire!" Do-hyun shouted. Energy beams lashed out from hundreds of weapons, enough firepower to vaporize a small moon. Phoenix One didn't try to dodge. Instead, the beams simply vanished when they touched the ship's strange fields. Then Phoenix One returned fire. A beam of impossible energy lanced out, passing through the shields of a heavy cruiser as if they didn't exist. The cruiser didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist, its matter scattered to atoms. "What kind of weapon is that?" demanded Do-hyun. His tactical officers had no answer. The technology they were facing operated on principles the Empire had never encountered. More ships vanished as Phoenix One danced through his formation. Imperial weapons proved useless against its defenses, while its attacks ignored their shields completely. Du Hyun watched in horror as his mighty fleet was torn apart by a single vessel. "My lord," his tactical officer's voice shook, "we're detecting more ships rising from Earth's surface. They're all like this one." Dozens of dark ships appeared, their hulls drinking in light and sensor beams alike. Each one moved with the same impossible grace as Phoenix One, each armed with weapons that ignored Imperial defenses completely. Do Hyun stared at his former homeworld, understanding dawning in his ancient eyes. The Empire's arrogance in ignoring Earth had given humanity the freedom to develop along their own path, while the Empire stagnated, convinced of their own superiority. Earth had surpassed them. "All ships, retreat," he ordered. But it was too late. The Earth vessels surrounded his fleet, their quantum weapons ready. His mighty pacification fleet, terror of 1,000 worlds, was about to be humbled by the very world they had dismissed as primitive. As his flagship's sensors detected more Earth ships emerging from hidden bases across the solar system, Du Hyun realized that this was just the beginning. The Empire's greatest mistake hadn't been underestimating Earth's current technology. It had been giving humanity the time and opportunity to surpass them completely. The battle that followed would be remembered as the day the Empire learned the true cost of their arrogance. A single prototype vessel had started it, but Earth's full fleet would finish it. The galaxy was about to change, and the Empire's time of unquestioned dominance was coming to an end. The stars themselves seemed to bend as the Empire's Grand Armada emerged from hyperspace. 10,000 warships, the largest fleet assembled in 5,000 years, filled the space near Jupiter's orbit. Their arrival created a spectacle of light and power that would have terrified any normal civilization. Supreme Commander Oh Se-jin stood on Phoenix One's bridge, watching the Imperial ships appear. His weathered face showed no sign of concern as the enemy fleet took formation. Behind him, his crew worked with calm efficiency, their training showing in every movement. "They brought exactly the number of ships we expected," Se-jin noted, studying the tactical display. "The Empire's responses are always so predictable." The 50 Phoenix-class vessels of Earth's fleet hung in space like holes in reality, their metamaterial hulls absorbing all light and energy that touched them. They had been waiting for the Armada's arrival, positioned exactly where Se-jin's strategy required them to be. "All ships report ready," announced his tactical officer. "Quantum cores at full power. Weapon systems charged and targeting solutions plotted." The Imperial fleet moved into their standard attack formation, spreading out in layers designed to maximize their firepower coverage. It was a formation that had won countless battles over thousands of years. Against any normal enemy, it would have been overwhelming. "They still think they're fighting a conventional war," Se-jin said softly. "They haven't learned anything from their previous losses." The Imperial command ship transmitted its message, broadcasting on all frequencies. "Rebellious world, your defiance ends today. Surrender now or face complete annihilation." Se-jin's response was to give a single command: execute Battle Plan Phoenix. Earth's ships moved as one, their quantum drives allowing them to accelerate in ways that defied Imperial physics. They split into smaller groups, each targeting specific sections of the enemy fleet. The Empire's rigid formation, designed to fight traditional battles, suddenly became a weakness. "First wave, engage," Se-jin ordered. 20 Phoenix-class ships dove into the enemy formation, their quantum weapons firing with surgical precision. Imperial shields, the pride of their technology, might as well have been missed against Earth's weapons. Ships began vanishing from the tactical display, reduced to scattered atoms by quantum disruption beams. The Imperial fleet responded with a massive barrage of energy weapons, the space between the fleets filled with enough firepower to destroy a planet. Earth's ships didn't try to evade. Instead, their quantum fields absorbed the energy, using it to power their own weapons. "Second wave, commence attack pattern Delta," Se-jin commanded. More Earth ships joined the battle, attacking from angles the Imperial formation wasn't designed to defend against. The mighty armada began to break apart, their perfectly planned formations becoming chaos. On the Imperial flagship, their commanders must have been watching in horror as their unstoppable fleet was being dismantled by a force a fraction of its size. Their rigid battle doctrine, unchanged for millennia, had no answer for Earth's revolutionary tactics and technology. "They're trying to regroup," reported Sejin's tactical officer. "Their ships are falling back to secondary formation." Sejin nodded. "Exactly as predicted. Execute final phase." The remaining Phoenix-class vessels revealed themselves, emerging from hiding places throughout the solar system. They had been cloaked by their metamaterial hulls, invisible to Imperial sensors. Now they appeared behind and among the enemy fleet, cutting off all retreat. The battle that followed would be studied for centuries to come. Earth's ships moved like dancers through the Imperial formation, their quantum weapons striking with devastating precision. The Empire's mighty warships, each the product of thousands of years of development, proved helpless against technology that operated on principles they had never imagined. "Imperial command ship is attempting to flee," announced the tactical officer. "Their engines are powering up for faster-than-light jump." "Disable them," Sejin ordered. It's time the Empire's leaders understood exactly what their arrogance has cost them. A quantum disruption beam struck the Imperial flagship's engines, not destroying them but rendering them useless. The massive vessel hung helpless in space, forced to watch as Earth's fleet systematically dismantled the greatest armada in Imperial history. Sejin stood at his viewport, watching the battle unfold exactly as they had planned. The Empire had given humanity 50 years of freedom to develop, believing Earth too primitive to be worth monitoring. In that time, humanity had not only caught up to Imperial technology, but had surpassed it entirely. "Signal all ships," he commanded. "Complete the encirclement. Let's show the Empire that their era of dominance is over." The battle ended not with a grand explosion or a desperate last stand, but with the quiet submission of the Imperial command ship. The mighty Grand Armada, pride of an empire that had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years, had been defeated by 50 ships from a world they had dismissed as primitive. The Imperial Palace on Capital World had never seen anything like this ceremony. In its 10,000-year history, no primitive world had ever forced the Empire to the negotiating table. Yet here they were, the Empire's highest officials gathered to formally recognize Earth as an equal power. Dr. Li Jin'e stood before the Imperial Council, her simple Earth diplomatic uniform a stark contrast to the ornate robes of the Imperial nobles. She had aged since those first days in the laboratory beneath Seoul, but her eyes still held the same determination that had helped birth the Phoenix Project. The Imperial envoy, his face barely concealing his fury, read from the formal declaration. "The Empire formally recognizes Earth as a sovereign power, with all rights and privileges thereof." Each word seemed to cause him physical pain. Jin'e maintained her diplomatic composure, but allowed herself a small smile. Behind her stood Commander Choi Sung-min and Captain Song Jae-yun, their presence a reminder of how Earth had earned this recognition. The Phoenix-class ships still orbited Capital World, their quantum weapons ready if the Empire decided to break faith. In addition, the envoy continued, "The Empire acknowledges Earth's territorial claims to its solar system and recognizes its right to pursue independent technological development." His voice almost broke on the last words. The Imperial Council chamber fell silent. Many of the nobles present had lived for centuries, seeing countless civilizations rise and fall under Imperial dominion. None had ever seen the Empire forced to acknowledge an equal. "Earth accepts these terms," Jin'e replied formally. "We look forward to peaceful cooperation between our civilizations." The implied threat in her words was clear. Peace was preferable, but Earth was ready for any alternative. After the ceremony, Jin'e walked through the palace gardens with her team. The ancient trees and crystalline fountains spoke of the Empire's long history, but also of their stagnation. Nothing here had changed in thousands of years. They still don't understand how we did it, some men commented, looking at the imperial citizens who gave their group a wide berth. They can't comprehend how we developed so quickly. That's their greatest weakness, Jai-yun added. They're so convinced of their superiority that they can't imagine different ways of thinking. Jin-A nodded, remembering those early days of the Phoenix Project. We succeeded because they ignored us. Their arrogance gave us the freedom to explore possibilities they had dismissed centuries ago. Later that night, in her quarters aboard Phoenix 1, Jin-A began writing in her journal. The ship's quantum core hummed softly in the background, a sound that had become comforting over the years. They ignored us, dismissed us, and in doing so, gave us the greatest gift of all, the freedom to develop without their interference. Now, they'll never be able to ignore us again. She paused, looking out her viewport at the imperial capital below. Humanity had achieved in decades what other races hadn't in millennia. The Phoenix Project had given birth to a new era, one where humanity would forge its own path among the stars. But our work isn't finished, she continued writing. The Empire will try to adapt, to copy our technology. They don't understand that our real advantage isn't in our quantum weapons or metamaterial hulls. It's in our ability to think differently, to see possibilities where they see impossibilities. Reports were already coming in from Earth. More Phoenix-class ships were under construction, and research into new technologies continued. Humanity had no intention of becoming stagnant like the Empire. Perhaps this is why the universe made us this way, Jin-A wrote. Always questioning, always pushing boundaries, never accepting limitations. The Empire thought these traits made us primitive. Instead, they made us stronger than they ever imagined possible. She closed her journal and stood at the viewport, watching stars that now belonged to humanity as much as they did to the Empire. The galaxy was changing, and Earth would lead that change. In orbit above, the Phoenix fleet maintained its vigilant watch, their dark hulls reminder that humanity had earned its place among the stars not through age or tradition, but through innovation and determination. The Empire had ruled for 10,000 years, but their era of unchallenged dominance was over. A new power had emerged, one that had turned the Empire's dismissal into advantage and their arrogance into opportunity. Humanity's journey among the stars was just beginning, and the galaxy would never be the same.